Continuing to follow that breaking news right now on what could be a historic step towards peace in the Middle East. We brought you this earlier in the show, but now we're getting some new information.
The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on a tentative deal for Saudi Arabia to officially recognize Israel. Newsmax correspondent Daniel Cohen live in Tel Aviv with details. Daniel.
Yeah, good morning, Sean. Good morning, Emma. Historic, enormous, huge, right? And all of those words are apropos to describe what we're talking about here. Let me just set the table for you in case you're just catching up, okay? The U.S. and Saudi Arabia have agreed on the broad contours of a deal for Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel in exchange for concession to the Palestinians. Also, Saudi Arabia wants U.S. security guarantees, and I think this is the bigger thing for them, help with their civilian nuclear program. Now, that is according to U.S. officials who were quoted off the record. And as you said, and you set this up the right way, a lot of this is not a done deal yet. In fact, the White House, we're hearing off the record expressing cautious optimism that something can be done in the next 9 to 12 months. But they have gone from hammering out larger details to some of the finer details. Listen, I've heard people here in Israel, people I respect and admire, that know Middle East foreign policy way more than I do, call it the mother of all Middle East peace deals. The Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, a man in his late 30s, the de facto ruler of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He's been meeting in Jeddah for the last few weeks, in fact, months, with Jake Sullivan, President Biden's national security advisor, trying to get these talks moving. So now we're hearing they're talking specifics. So the significant concession from Israel would be help promoting the creation of a Palestinian state. That's what they're saying. I have to tell you, I am not hearing that at all here in Israel. In return, the United States would be pressing Saudi Arabia to impose limits on its growing relationship with China. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu, I've been checking his Twitter. I've been checking anything. He hasn't said anything publicly yet. But since I've been here in Israel and recovering this for you here in Newsmax, he has said publicly there is no way that he will give up an inch of sovereign Israeli soil to create a Palestinian state. He has said he's willing to make moderate or light concessions. What does that mean? I don't know, but that's antithetical to the ultra-Orthodox that serve in the Knesset right now, ministers to Bibi's right, who say openly that they don't want to create a Palestinian state. They want to take land back from the Palestinians, including the Temple Mount. So this is very big news. We're still waiting to see specific details, but if there's a deal in principle between the United States, brokering, obviously this is huge, and on the heels of the Abraham Accords, probably the highest accomplishment of President Trump, because it brought peace between Israel, Bahrain, the UAE, Morocco, and Sudan. Some people said if President Trump would have won a second term, or if he was still president, that this Saudi deal would have already been done. That's neither here nor there. But President Biden clearly riding some of the momentum, some of the I guess, greasing the skids, maybe a better term, but of the Abraham Accords and all the success that we've seen in trade and business there, economic partnership. But a deal with Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel and bringing some sort of peace here is enormous. Sean, Emma, back to you.
One day soon I will fly. I know I am free, feeling alive. Take me back to the jungle.
With regard specifically to normalization, the Crown Prince reiterated Saudi Arabia's strong interest in pursuing that, but he also made clear what he had said to me before, which is that in order to do that, two things are required. An end to the conflict in Gaza and a clear, credible, time-bound path to the establishment of a Palestinian state.
Hamas onslaught, according to the health ministry in Gaza, which is managed by Hamas. There have been many casualties and extensive suffering due to the conflict on all sides, which has had serious humanitarian repercussions. The roots of the Israel-Hamas conflict trace back decades, rooted in historical, political, and territorial disputes. Fundamental issues include the status of Jerusalem, the rights and conditions of Palestinian refugees, and the broader struggle for land and sovereignty. The recent escalation reflects the deep-seated grievances and competing narratives that have fueled the ongoing tension in the region. The Israel-Hamas war has not only led to loss of life, but has also had severe humanitarian consequences. Communities on both sides are grappling with the physical and emotional impact of the conflict, with displaced families, destroyed infrastructure, and a sense of insecurity prevailing in the region. The international community faces the challenge of responding to urgent humanitarian needs while navigating the complex political dynamics of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Saudi Arabia's Prince Mohammed seems to be considering a tricky strategy for building ties with Israel. He's framing it as a way to help the Palestinians get more rights, which could help him manage the widespread dislike for Israel and strong support for the Palestinians in Saudi Arabia. It's like he's trying to find a middle ground between his vision for Saudi Arabia and the sentiments of his people. Saudi authorities are issuing alerts in the meantime, and the U.S. State Department is discussing both the short-term crisis and the long-term objective of a prosperous and peaceful Middle East. This demonstrates how complicated the situation is, addressing the immediate issues while simultaneously keeping an eye on more ambitious ambitions for regional peace. It is fascinating to wonder if Prince Mohammed's strategy can truly have an impact.
Their spouses. Then came the unsolicited cryptic comment.
You guys know what this represents? Well, maybe you can help because what you're farming could be non-imposed.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room. I will tell you that. And we're going to raise you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
And today in the Oval Office, we tried again.
Mr. President, what did you mean by calm before the storm yesterday? What did you mean by that?
Thank you very much.
After a wink and a pause,
You'll find out.